Today, we're going to have a little panel of some of our committee members, local experts in entrepreneurship and small businesses, and the kinds of things that they do to help that. And we're going to be just opening up to questions. Any questions that anybody has? So I can have our panel come on up.
I'm impressed with how quickly you put that together.
He's a whiz.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never a whiz there was.
Rupert, you need to send, everyone needs to be in their line up there. It's important. We'll get confused.
Just in case.
They're not doing it.
Right?
All right, ask us anything.
First question.
Bernd,
Listen, why each of you don't talk about for 2 minutes about yourself?
why don't we?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
just
Why
tell
don't
us, tell us a little bit more in depth who you are, where you come from, where you're going to.
Jim, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, when you want my background and
A
stuff?
little bit, yeah. That's just
My name's Jim Alafat. I've been in Orlando since 1998. Grew up in New England in a family restaurant business. I worked in the restaurant industry from scrubbing pots to owning a 400-seat restaurant. Worked in nightclubs, that sort of thing, for over 20 years. I also have a pretty extensive background in financial services.
so we have something in common.
So, yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah.
Had no clue that you were in the restaurant business.
Yeah, so, and I've done financial services, mortgage planning, and that, and I have my own company called the Alafat Agency, and I work a lot with business owners, with consulting, helping them arrange financing, and then, of course, with the legal shield, protecting them business-wise with legal.
And scuba diver.
As retired master scuba diver, yeah. You are? Yes, retired master instructor.
Erik Deckers, I am a professional writer. I've been in content marketing since the late 90s, when it was just called marketing. It was called marketing on the internet. Nothing special. But now it's a whole big thing that you can specialize only in that one thing. And I've done that. I'm an author and a ghostwriter. I wrote some of the earliest books on social media marketing and personal branding. With the state of social media that it's in now, I feel like I have to apologize for that.
There's a new book.
And I used to run 1 Million Cups for about 3 years, and now stepped down from that so Scott could take over, and now I just serve on the organizing committee. Oh, and I'm the president of the Kerouac House, which is a writing nonprofit here in town. It's a year-round writer's residency in the house where Jack Kerouac lived in 57 and 58.
Hello everyone, my name again is Rupert Meghnot, and 40 and 11 years ago. So I've been passionate about two things my whole life: entrepreneurship and project management, and I merged the two of them together. I've had a lot of failures in my life. I've had 4 exits in 4 different industries. Nothing the Wall Street Journal would write about, but as long as the entrepreneur, the investors, and the employees are happy, that to me that's a success. Not everything needs to be a unicorn. And I've taught project management and entrepreneurship both at the undergrad and the master's degree levels, both at UCF and at Full Sail. I helped start. I started and ran the first.
Come on in, we can all see you. Sorry.
The first. Hey, what's up, man? The first and largest tech association in town. We had 6,000 members in 1997. I converted that into the first business accelerator, Central Florida Innovation Corporation, and then that started Milcom, which was the first venture capital firm. And those two did about $1 billion over a 7-year span until 9/11 pulled the rug out from everybody. My mission in life is basically to double the success rate of startups globally from 5% to 10%. So I've been involved in 1 Million Cups since it started. Well, not since it started, but since 2016. We've seen close to 800 presentations, spawning two unicorns and 6 Shark Tank appearances and 2 global startup weekend winners. steps, and even if I got fired tomorrow, I'll still come here every day.
Something to talk to you about.
Yeah, I know.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jane Tracy. I am a librarian with the Orange County Library. I do a lot of work, actually, from the beginning with people who walk in the library who say, well, you know, I'm looking at marketing. Well, no, I really want to start a business, and we go from there. So the library has a lot to offer, uh, no matter what your business level is. So we can do the very basic, where I think I want to start a business. Okay, well, business plans database with completed businesses from businesses from North America. This is a great start. And then let me tell you about some of the organizations in the community that also will support you. So that gives you an idea of like a typical day for me. Another part of what I do, and actually, well, let me start. The way I got introduced to Woman Caps, let me tell you that, is I was doing a series presenting on Morningstar database, which I don't know if you know about Morningstar Company. That's an American success story. Joe Mansudo, look him up, it's really great. I was telling women about investing and how to use Morningstar database, and someone who came to the program said, you should present at 1 Million Cups. And I was like, what's 1 Million Cups? So it was at Rollins. I went to present. All of the people there were so supportive. It was such an engaging experience for me. I kept going and meeting more entrepreneurs, telling them about sources that we have in the library. And now I'm doing a series called the Entrepreneur Toolkit, presenting some of these resources. And it's online, so we had the first one this year, and then it'll begin again in January. It's virtually. Another part of what I do is I work to document the economic and scientific success of our area. And I do that through oral histories, and I interview people who have made the area, and those are posted online. So you can Google Shan, you can hear about Shan's life, incredible patents that he's created. I'm hoping to interview Rupert when we can schedule that. Erik's interview is on there. And so we live in a vital area where there have been incredible scientific contributions. I come from that special project Martin, so there's science here and entrepreneurship with incredible resources. So that's a little bit. But I'm president of Orlando Remembered, and Erik is going to be speaking at Orlando Remembered this month. That's where we document the significant. So I hope that wasn't too much.
Perfect.
What is Orlando Remembered? It's an organization that was founded by the leaders of this area. And they work to document the contributions of our area. So it might be people, it might be places, and it's interesting. You learn about how progressive our area has always been. It might be the person who planned Orlando National Airport. People who have really made these visionary contributions. Charlie Gray, founder of Gray Robinson Law Firm. He's a member of Orlando Remembered. So people who have the vision to create the infrastructure that we are enjoying today.
Jim, does your organization keep pictures? The reason why I bring it up is Ace Cafe is folded. They're becoming a high-rise, but that's Harry P. Lou's original building. There's all sorts of pictures in there of Harry and the people that work for him. And that's the history of Orlando.
It is. And Harry P. Lou was a great industrial person. And thank you. We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah.
Harry P. Lou, if you haven't heard of Lou Gardens, Harry P. Lou was this great industrial person. He and his wife were interested in gardening, and then he ended up donating his gardens to the city, where people now come internationally to see the largest collection of camellias in the Southeast. So that's Orlando.
It's all part of it.
Yes. But I mean, that's the type of, that's Orlando character that we see the industry, we see the thinking of others.
information. Question is in three aspects, I would say, or categories: personal life, family, business, of course. Do you guys have any formulas? I would say we all know that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, but you would say that, hey, during my entire life, I figured out the formula for 2 plus 2 equals to 40. Do you have anything like that to share?
So in terms of productivity or just satisfaction?
What's the outcome?
Both, I would say. You know, the shortcuts.
Our formula for productivity, satisfaction, balance, involving personal life and work life, right?
Yeah, in 3 categories, if possible. If not, just we can go with the business or job. Have anything to share? Or 2 plus 2 equals to 0, which makes it, you know, ordinarily you would think that, hey, if I do this and that, then I'll have this outcome. But I'm looking for something which would multiply it.
So,
you know, and there's a wisdom, the things like that. If you have something to share.
I have that formula, and I figured it out quite a long time ago. The problem is 2 plus 2 equals 100, but the problem is it's not a shortcut. Because if you want to be successful, there really is no shortcut. Okay, you know, when you look at people who are pulled up in high esteem for being the most successful in the world, like Elon Musk and Mark Cuban, when you read their stories and you hear them talk about, you know, their early days and whatnot, you know, Mark Cuban was a 10-year overnight success. You know, Jeff Bezos, you know, 7 years. 17. And it's like, you know, there's the right 2 plus the correct 2 and the right 2 can equal 100, but it's a lot of work, and you have to do things right the first time. Okay, that's again where the project management comes in. Because 80% of project management is planning, and you know, Eisenhower, who kicked Hitler's butt in 1 year after the former or the latter spent 5 years taking over the world. He said planning is everything, or planning is worthless, but plans are worthless, but planning is everything. And the thing is we hate planning. Like Sir John Hager Jones, his quote was, "Planning is such an unnatural act. We would all rather do something else." So the good thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise. Whereas the alternative is brought about through a period of worry and despair. And then he says, fail to plan, plan to fail. And when I first heard that quote, I was like, well, wait a minute. If you've got time to worry and despair, then you've got time to fix things before you fail. Okay? And so that put planning into a new light for me. And when I started my consulting practice in '92, people were hiring me to write business plans. And back then, the primary investors were bankers. And they wanted to know, they wanted to look down their esophagus and up their birth certificate. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm writing 100-page business plans with 400 pages of appendices, contracts, financials, resumes, you know, you name it, right? Sales brochures, the whole shot. And then over the years, it started getting smaller and smaller and smaller because more people were coming out of the woodwork wanting to start businesses. And then the angels got involved and VC and so forth. And what happened was, now they're being inundated with these things. And well, you wouldn't have time to read a 100-page thing, you know. And so, because they were only reading 2, 4, 5, 6 a year. Now they're getting 40 or 50. So it's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller until it finally came down to, after Erik Deckers wrote The Lean Startup, actually when he still had his blog in 2008, somebody came out with what they called the business model canvas. And so so that's a one pager. But the thing is even using a business model canvas, a one page thing, and you know, I've come up with, as I've mentioned before, what I consider to be a better alternative is you still got to do the homework. You still have to understand who your target market is. You even have to ask yourself questions like, why am I doing this? Why am I willing to risk my home and my family and my livelihood and my health and everything else to make this dream come true, right? And people, many entrepreneurs don't even bother asking themselves those questions. And but you've got to learn about your market. You got to learn about people study competition. They don't even know what it means, right? And you know, how are you going to finance things? How are you going to pay for things? What are your costs? They don't do enough, or we consider to be sufficient. Sufficient means just successful. It doesn't have to be wildly successful, but you don't have to fail, but it's just got to be sufficient. So that could be one page of planning. It could be 1,000 pages of planning, right? Only you know what is going to be sufficient for you. So there's no shortcuts to 2 + 2 = 100.
And on that too, with what Rupert said, you know, and sadly, what I see a lot in society today, especially because we're such a microwave society, people want results right away. They don't understand to become successful, no matter what you're doing, it does take a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of effort. If there was any shortcut in that, the best way to shortcut the system is learn from others' mistakes. Okay? Read. Do a lot of personal development. That doesn't happen. People just, I don't want to read. I don't want to listen to books. I don't want to do this. Okay, good luck. Keep doing it. You know, talk to Kurt right here. All right? All right? I've seen him go through what he's been going through to have to, you know, work through and grow his business and watch what he's done. Anybody that has a successful business is going to go through. Something else I would recommend if you want a shortcut, go interview people that have what you want. Interview them. Get questions that, you know, how did you get started? What did you do to do that? How did you get here? You know, ask them. Most of the time, people like that, successful people, will be happy to sit down. If you listen, I'd like to sit down and interview you. I'd like to learn more about you. I'm interested in starting that business. They will mentor you. They will help you if you ask them, you know, for some help, or you get into things, charitable causes or things that they're interested in. That, if there's any such thing as a shortcut, that would be it. But irregardless of what you do, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to get there.
I'll add to that. The formula to double your productivity is you work 2 days in a single day. Work 16 hours, not 8 hours. You do that for a year, you will have accomplished 2 years of work. And so that's what I did when I first started. I didn't start my business, but I joined the business and I became one of the owners. And at the same time, a friend approached me and said, hey, would you help me write Twitter Marketing for Dummies? And I ghosted half of that book. And I'm working at this new content marketing business, and I'm learning about personal branding, and I'm building my own brand, and I'm going to other networking meetings. And this is all while I was in Indianapolis. And then I would get home at about 6 o'clock, take a nap, and then after dinner, I would start working on Kyle's book from about 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock. And I would be writing at my kitchen table at like 1:30, and I would start doing this. And I had a sentence in my brain, and my fingers were still working, and it woke me up when I ran out of words, and my fingers stopped. And I'd start writing again and do this again. And after the third time, that was time for bed. And I would sleep for 4 hours. I would get up at 6 in the morning, go to the office, work that job, come home by 6, take a nap, and do it all over again. And then when the book was done, I kept that energy going, working on my personal brand, working on Twitter, writing my blog, working on the next book, which Kyle and I wrote it the next year, called Branding Yourself. And then a year after that, I was doing another book called Bullshit. Same thing. I did that for 6 years until my wife said, you know, you do need to sleep sometime. And she said, you can slow down. And so that next year, I didn't have a book to write, and I saved myself 30 hours a week. And but that's what it took. It is a grind. The only shortcut is to double the amount of time you work. But there's no trick. There's no secret. AI is not going to do it for you.
Actually, there is a trick and a secret. And
no, I just said there's not.
I know what it is. I know.
So going off of what they both just said, there's a way to get a month for entrepreneurs. Okay. And the way you do that is what Jim was saying is, well, like in management, the number one tool called expert judgment. The vast majority of entrepreneurs that I meet have met for the last 10 years come up with an idea. They don't do any research as to who's done it before or who's been successful or anything else. They just put their head down and they just go, right? Fail fast, right? And then usually after 5 or 6 months or so, or even longer, a year or more, they realize, wait a minute, these other people tried this before me and they all failed, right? If you want to do a month in a day, you find out, you do the research, and you find out, has anybody ever had this idea before? And I'll tell you right now, the best resource in the world for that is 1 Million Cups.
The second,
That's true, you were gonna bring the library.
I was too.
I know.
So close.
That is high. The library, of course, absolutely.
1 million books.
My point, though, is that Orlando alone has hundreds of videos of people that were up here presenting their business ideas, right? At one point, there were 108 communities, or 185 communities pre-COVID across the United States. And they have been putting up their videos and whatnot. If you spend the time researching those videos, I guarantee you will find someone else that's had your idea. You can then find these people, reach out to them. What's the status of it? What problems did you have? If you failed, what do you attribute that failure to? Learn from them, right? And then come up with an even better solution. And trust me, you'll save yourself a year of pain and heartache.
So I know a lot of you have had multiple businesses or multiple endeavors that you, like Rupert mentioned, failures. So what's some of your best advice for moving past the failure, or
Moving past the failure?
Yeah, like because a lot of people, they fail once, they give up. Obviously, you guys didn't stop. Like maybe you didn't continue with that same idea, maybe move on to the next idea. But a lot of people, it's hard to pick up and move to the next idea or take the next step. What's your best advice? Maintaining that strength.
Yeah, how it's supposed to. Yeah. So this goes with your question, but also with the original question, and that is one of the keys to me. And I completely believe this, and I live it. Is lifelong learning. So, and lifelong learning might be that you get the tech news brief. I get the tech. I don't know how many of you are on that get that email every day with the tech news brief, the latest, what's happening, the innovation. which is fascinating. It may be that you're reading an industry survey and an industry that's not yours. And that's how you learn. And it may be that you're reading a book that's in an area that's a completely new subject. It may be that you're researching everything in your area, but one way that we get fresh starts is to enter into a completely new subject. And it may be, I'll give a small example, but there was a point in my life that I was like, I was between things. I mean, I was still working at the library, but I was kind of between areas. I had left, I worked as a professional storyteller for many years, and I was not doing that anymore. I wanted something really technical. And there was a book on a book cart that I picked up. I thought, oh, that looks interesting, what that's about. Well, it was about a female pilot. And I read the biography, and I thought, I think I'll get my pilot's license. And I did it. And that was, I didn't become an airline pilot. I think Denny's son is an airline pilot. It's okay. But I did become, I got my pilot's license, and I served as president of the Female Pilots Association for spaceport area. Which, why am I saying that? I met these women that own their own planes. They were age 81 with their own planes. That was a life-changing experience for me. And it changed my worldview. And so I think when you enter into a whole nother area, another subject, it can change your worldview, and it brings fresh ideas and learning. And this summer when I went to the University of Cambridge, some of the head professors were talking about the idea that if we really want to engage, go to a community college, lose your ego, and take a course that you've never taken before, that you know nothing about that subject.
This is why Jane is one of the smartest people in the room.
The smartest person. So
can I? Okay, go ahead.
Well, after my first failure, it was traumatic, right? I don't know if anybody here is a Trekkie, but there was a famous quote by Captain Jean-Luc Picard that you can do no wrong and still fail. That's not, and still lose. That's not failure. That's life. And so I did everything right, and had the rug pulled out from under me by, in project management, we call it enterprise environmental factors. Basically, the economy and tanked in 1992, and my investors said, the money that you need ain't coming. After I had invested, right? And it's like, no income for 2 years, $400 a month apartment, $250,000 in debt, on top of the $500,000 or $400,000 that he gave me. And it's like, what pulled me out of it, and it was traumatic. I mean, I've had friends that said I had probably had PTSD, but what pulled me out of it was other friends in the community, right? So I was running the Florida Venture Forum and the Central Florida Council for High Technology at the time. And my friends were aghast. They were like, Rupert, what's wrong? And so they tried to console me and pick me up by the bootstraps, so to speak. But my point is this: networking functions. Go to 1 Million Cups, and yes, come to Orlandopreneur, but also go to all the other networking functions in town. The chambers, Josh is checked in. They're always doing partnerships with various different other ESOs and BSOs in town. Go meet other people. You never know who you're going to meet. And twice in my life, I've sat down at a bar that I've never been in before or since, and met someone that changed my life, right? Business-wise. And it's like,
Glad you added that.
yeah, business-wise. Just, you never know. So put yourself in those situations. Even just show up. Just show up. You don't even have to go out of your shell or anything else, because somebody else will see you and they'll want to talk to you one way or another. And then hopefully that'll spark something. And then, because the greatest inventions, and you were touching upon this a moment ago, the greatest inventions in history came from two people, two disparate disciplines, who started talking, and then all of a sudden the sparks started to fly, right? You know, it's like, where did McDonald's get the idea for the drive-through? From the bank. Where did Ford get the idea for the assembly line? From the butcher, right? Of course, Chrysler was already doing it, but the thing is when you put people with different, and Josh, you were traveling, you were in Ecuador and Central and South America for the last month or so, and you know, you saw things, and I know you. Those wheels are turning. You saw so many cool things about other people are doing things in other countries that we feel and you feel, and I'm sure we'd all agree, are better than what we're doing here in this country. How can we adopt that and make it work? So traveling, networking, things like that, those to me, going to the library, those are the greatest things I think you can come up with to get yourself out of that situation.
My question was that I keep asking myself, what else am I going to do? I'm largely unemployable.
We all are.
I'm of a certain age where employers just don't take a look at me anymore. And so it's this or just lay down and die. And I remember one time when business was really tough and I was not making very much money, and my wife said, you need to do something else. I can't go through this anymore. I said, all right, I'm done. Now what? So mad. Because I had nothing else. And so I just had to kind of double my efforts and bring in some more business. But my question is, or to myself is, what else can I do? There isn't anything else. I have to do this. If I fail, I have to start it up somewhere else, or I have to shift and work at something else, but it's always going to be my efforts and my rewards.
To answer that question too, the thing that I've found extremely useful is journaling. Keep a track of, you have a meeting, you sit down with somebody, what did you say, what was said, what was their response? Did you overcome objections or things that they had? Like Rupert had talked about, back when I was running a mortgage company, I owned a mortgage company when all the mess went through in the 2000s, and thought I was out of it by 2010, and then that recession hit, and it ended up wiping us out. So, yeah, a lot of that was beyond my control, but I also went and looked back and said, hey, is there anything I could have done different to help me maybe sustain that? Because what, like these guys have said, you go in and you're just looking to put some food on the table. What can you do? And you're overqualified. You're going to want too much money. You're not going to be here long enough. Or my favorite one was, oh, you're just what we're looking for. We need to have another interview. All right, great. Here, I got my calendar. When were you thinking? We'll have to get back to you on that. And you never hear from them again. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be prepared to, look back. What did you do? What can I do? I've done this before. It's like the age-old question of, would you rather have $1 million or the knowledge to know how to make $1 million?
Dan, and then Nick.
So this is a question for Jane about the library. I remember the last time I visited, the Book of Lists was a great resource for me because you learn like the top 10, top 25 architectural firms in town or any other category, whatever you're pursuing. Can you tell us about what's popular at the library? What resource gets asked for a lot and how it helps business people?
Well, thank you so much for that question. That's really an ideal question. And the Book of Lists is a fantastic resource. He names it, but it's what's happening in this area. So if you want to look up the top companies, the up-and-coming companies, top philanthropists, that's a reference source that we have on the 4th floor. It's right behind the reference desk, like right there, so that you can come in and take a look at it. Now, we also offer a service called Data Axle Reference Solutions, which is a database that you could access digitally, that you could create your own lists. So, if I want to know, I don't know, who are, tech companies in a certain zip code that are from a certain year that are, 2,000 or more people or whatever, I can put my own criteria and I can create my own list. We have other databases like that. I wish, this is a little bit of a dream, but we were talking about reading a little bit and doing research. I wish more people would access the Standard & Poor's database and look at those industry surveys. Those industry surveys will tell you what's happening in an industry. In other words, they get it from CFRA Research Associates, the Standard & Poor's. They pay a company that this is a researcher. Their job is to research this industry, and you have access to that at no cost. So wouldn't it be really smart to just look at it? Since with your library card, you can access it at no cost.
And what was it called again?
It's called the Standard & Poor's a Net Advantage database, Net Navigator. The industry surveys, there's a tab right at the top. You click on any industry, use a drop-down menu. You can pick aerospace, you can pick financing, you can pick construction, insurance, whatever your industry. Click it on, and you get the industry survey, and they come out. They're current. They come out all the time. And like I said, it's CFRA Associates that produces it. They're an independent research company. They have someone, this person's job is this industry, which that's what they do. And this is, international. It's not just local. Morningstar, I would hope more people would use that to get those company analyst reports. So whatever business you're in, there's a company that's related to your business. They may be at this level, but still, when you want to know what's happening, and Morningstar pays an analyst to analyze this company, independent information again, and you get that analyst report at no cost. You just bring it up, and where are they going to move? What are their weaknesses? What's their economic mode? What do they see as evaluation? What are some of the problems? Yeah, these are things you want to know, and I could do this really easily. I could do it on my phone if I wanted to, and it's not going to cost you anything as long as you have a library card. So, Dan, was that what you were looking for?
Yeah, thanks for that overview.
And we have books.
Yeah.
Nick and then Sean.
Yeah, you cannot overestimate the value that the library system does bring.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. It was very interesting listening to you. My question is, I think Jim mentioned, answering one of the previous questions, that if you look at successful people, so we spoke about the failure, and I think the failure is kind of inevitable, no matter what you do, and I learned it after getting some gray hair. But if somebody asks you, are you successful? Or do you feel that you are successful, or you feel like that success is yet to come? And another question I have for Erik, he asked what else he can do. I think you can do marital counseling successfully. I think written skills are important, and what you suggest for the people like me, how to improve the writing skills?
Okay.
So that's the question for you, and about success. Anybody who can.
Success for me is
Thank you.
having enough money to take care of my family.
Okay. Same here.
To improve writing, do it every day. Pick some technique you want to learn to get better at, and practice that in everything. Emails, reports, not just, I'm going to practice writing today. It's everything you do. You practice sending tweets, you do that skill right there. And then use Grammarly, Grammarly. You can get a free installation on your browser, or you can get the application on your laptop, and it will flag all of the errors that you're making. And so pick one error. I want to stop making this error. I want to beat Grammarly. I don't want it to flag that. And so if you focus on that error, eventually the habit writing and the error avoiding become habits. And that's the best way to get better.
And they still call them tweets?
I'm not calling it that. I'm calling it the other thing.
No, but I said, do they still call them tweets?
They do, actually.
Okay.
So I wanted to say something about business failure. And I mentioned Joe Mansudo. He's the founder of Morningstar. And you know, his first business, he got his MBA degree. He was in his area. His first business was a Christmas tree business, and he didn't make very much money. Some reports say he actually lost money. His second business, he started from his apartment in Chicago, and that business, at age 28, he started it, was Morningstar. And he thought that everyday people should have access to the same type of financial information that big financial houses had, but it should be in an easy format rather than having to write, you know, for reports and things like that. And now it's in 28 countries. He's known as the quiet billionaire, and he's giving lots of money to education. So maybe the first business didn't do so well, but was there a success within him coming?
Second business.
If at first you don't succeed, try again. Right. To answer your questions, no, I don't in any way, shape, form, or fashion think it's successful. And yeah, it's always around the corner.
Time. Did you have?
I just wanted to make sure you know me. I'm only 85 years old. I take 4 insulin shots a day. I work 7 days a week. I'm a lifelong learner. So resilient, resourceful. A lot of things have to have to be success. My formula for success, is basically minimizing human suffering and delivering happiness. That's my success. 170 teams I'm guiding now. Lifelong learner. Never ever stop. I innovate every second something new. So I have more than 100 business models here. And I visualize everything. So I've created that. And Jane knows more about me than my wife knows. She wrote about me. I have more than 14 patents, 50 patents. I invent, because of me, you have microwave in your kitchen. I have.
Thank you, Shan.
Yeah, that's the other day.
Yeah.
Because of me, you have air fryer. That's my invention. So there are a lot of things I'm doing because I'm a lifelong learner, never afraid of failure. Failure is part of the success. Without failure, you won't succeed. That means you didn't try enough. Don't work out. Resourceful. Get up and move. If anybody's interested in spending more time, I'll be glad to help you guys out.
The first thing you do
One last comment.
is you need to understand what your definition of success is.
Yep.
Right? My definition of success is going to be different from yours. So, and then don't judge other people. First of all, don't judge them, period. But also, don't judge other people based on your definition of success. Find out what theirs is first, and then you'll have a better context as to whether or not.
And don't confuse success with happiness.
Correct.
They're not necessarily hand in hand.
Correct.
Success could be based strictly on money or what you've accomplished. Happiness is totally different. So if you're happy, that's what you want to be.
Happiness is your measure of success.
That's true.
If you're happy and you know it.
Whoa.
Again, and clap your hands for our panel.
I want to give you 2 good resources, okay? Focus, The Power of Focus by Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. And tap into the 7-figure standard, Raj Rashogi. Raj actually took over from Bob Proctor, and then he started his own company called Voss Coaching. Number 77, podcast 77, talks about focus and just even having micro 30 minutes of focus, because we all get scatterbrained. And it's an amazing, powerful tool. And my last bit of advice is, Jim Rohn always said, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with most. They make $50,000 a year, you'll make $50,000. They smoke, you smoke. They swear, you swear. They drink, you drink. choose people that are where you want to be to start hanging around with. If you want to start modeling success and having better ideas rub off on you.
And it's okay for a little bit to be below average.
Half of all Americans are below average.
And if you're in a group where you are below the average of the 5 people that you're hanging out with, you're gonna be growing up.
It
So,
will. And the best example I can give you of that is quite a few years ago when I was playing golf and getting into, more of a professional stature. I was playing with tour professionals, and my handicap in 1 year went from a 10 to a 2. And it's just by hanging around with the right people, learning what you need to learn and absorbing that. And then, like I said, keep a journal of it so you can have a record and then go back and look at it and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's a great way to help you accelerate that learning curve.
thank you all very much for your questions, and thanks to our panel for a great discussion. Really appreciate that.
I'm here all week.
You're here?
Yeah.
Parking.
Like in that chair.
Yes.
Like I said, you can follow us on all the socials, say nice things about us. If you didn't like what you heard today, go to somebody's feed that you don't like and say something nice about us there. That'll show it. And take any connections that you've made today out into the community. And if you want to go have coffee or a snack with somebody, go someplace local. The big guys are doing just fine. And there's a lot of local coffee shops and cafes in the area. So we ask that you go there. If you'd like to give us a little bit of a testimonial, Dan will meet up with you afterwards. And you can record a quick 1-minute testimonial. We can use that in our social media. We'd appreciate that. We'll see you all next week. Thank you all very much.